You know Neal Stephenson's cyberpunk classic Snow Crash? It did way more than just predict the metaverse. It went so much deeper. It asked this really terrifying question. What if language itself is a virus? And what if our brains? What if they're just another operating system, just waiting to be hacked? All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we're going to dive into the absolutely wild, fractured world of the book, this corporate-run America. Then, we'll jack into the metaverse itself. After that, we'll get into the really weird stuff, the snow crash virus, where it came from, its ancient history, and finally, the race against time to stop it all. Okay, so the very first thing you have to get your head around in Snow Crash is that America, well, it's not a thing anymore. Not really. It's been completely carved up and sold off to corporations. Your loyalty isn't to the good old US of A, it's to a brand. And seriously, that's not a joke. In this world, everything is a franchise, just taken to this insane logical extreme. Our hero? He's a deliverator for Cosa Nostra Pizza. And for him, getting a pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less, it's not about the customer getting a freebie. It's about him literally not getting whacked by the mafia. So what's left of society has basically shattered and pulled back into these super fortified bubbles called burbclaves. Just picture the most extreme gated community you can imagine and then turn it up to 11. They're basically their own little countries with their own laws, their own armies, and yes, sometimes even their own rules about who gets to live there. If you're not inside one, you're out in the lawless wasteland in between. And we're not just talking about companies here, they're called franchelettes. And they really do act like nations. I mean, they issue their own passports, have their own laws, protect their own citizens. You've got the mafia running all the pizza delivery. There's Mr. Lee's Greater Hong Kong. And the actual US government, what's left of it is just another small-time franchise, basically clinging on to what little turf it has left. And this contrast, man, it is classic cyberpunk. You have the high-tech and the low-life right next to each other. On one side, these pristine burbclaves with their robot-polished fire hydrants and perfect lawns, and literally right next door, slums. People are living in U-Store units, they're burning lottery tickets to stay warm. It's this incredible, jarring vision of the future. So, with the real world being such a complete mess, where does everyone go to escape? Well, they go to the one thing this book is probably most famous for, the metaverse. Yeah, long before it became some corporate catchphrase, it was this raw, gritty, digital frontier built from the ground up by hackers. So Stevenson's vision of the metaverse is this single shared reality that's always on. It's all built around one single road called the street, and it just circles this giant, perfectly black sphere in the middle. You jack in, you appear as an avatar, and that avatar can be anything you want, from a cheap, grainy black and white stick figure if you're poor, to a stunningly realistic custom build if you've got the cash. Now, get this. The length of the street is super specific. It's exactly 65,536 kilometers long. So why that number? It sounds totally random, right? Well, it's not random at all. That number is basically a secret handshake for coders. It's 2 to the 16th power. And that little detail tells you everything you need to know. The metaverse was built by hackers for hackers. It's a world where binary is king, and that fundamental truth is baked right into its source code. It lets you know who the real architects are. But of course, this digital paradise has a dark side. There's a threat lurking in the code, a virus that is unlike anything you've ever imagined. It doesn't just crash your computer, it crashes your brain. So what in the world is Snow Crash? I mean, it's the title of the book, so it's got to be important, right? And trust me, it's not just some computer virus. It's way, way weirder than that. Okay, so Snow Crash is a 2-for-1 deal. On a computer, it looks like a screen full of static, snow, and it just causes a total system crash. But here's the terrifying part. If a person looks at that exact same image, it infects their brain. It's a neurolinguistic virus. It basically reboots your mind back to some primal pre-language state. People start speaking in tongues, and their independent thought is just gone. And we see just how nasty this thing is pretty early in the book. There's this legendary hacker, a guy named Daphide, who's super arrogant, thinks he can't be touched by any virus. He opens this mysterious file, and it shows an avatar unrolling a scroll, and the scroll is just pure static. His avatar in the metaverse instantly crashes, and in the real world, his brain does the exact same thing. He's left as a drooling, babbling mess. It's horrifying. So, how on earth do you fight a virus that's both digital and biological? The answer, it turns out, isn't in writing better code. Our hero protagonist, has to go way back. He basically becomes a digital archaeologist, digging through ancient history and mythology to find the source code of human thought itself. And this deep dive leads him to this ancient Sumerian idea of a namshub. Now, a namshub was thought to be a kind of magical phrase or incantation, a piece of code spoken out loud that could literally rewrite reality. And the most famous one of all, that would be the namshub from the god Enki, which is what supposedly caused the whole Tower of Babel incident, shattering one single human language into thousands. So what this all means is that Snow Crash isn't some new piece of tech. It's ancient. It's a weapon that taps into the brain's deep structures, like the original factory settings that existed before the Tower of Babel fragmented everything. And that whole speaking in tongues thing, it's not just random babbling. It's the brain's operating system, crashing and trying to reboot to that original universal language. And here's where the book gets really wild. It suggests that written language itself, especially something super structured and codified like the Torah, was actually developed as a defense mechanism. It was a firewall for the human mind. See, by writing things down, you lock the information in place. You create what the book calls informational hygiene. It was a way to stop these linguistic viruses from spreading and mutating through word of mouth. So you take all this ancient mythology and computer science and linguistics, and it all comes crashing together in the book's present day. It sets up this incredible race against the clock to stop a bad guy who's figured out how to weaponize this ancient power to, you guessed it, take over the world. The villain's name is L. Bob Reif, a massive media tycoon, and his plan is pretty diabolical. He's got a three-part strategy. First, he uses the digital bitmap to infect and neutralize hackers, because they're the only ones who might figure out what he's up to. Second, he has a biological version that spreads through blood, which he uses to control this enormous fleet of refugees. And third, he's got the linguistic version, which he spreads through a televangelist religion to basically brainwash the masses. So who's going to stop this guy? It's not some big army. It's just two people. You've got hero protagonist, who is, and I quote, the last of the freelance hackers and the greatest swordsman in the world, and then you have YT, a super smart teenage career on a ridiculously high-tech skateboard. They are the ultimate individuals, standing against Reif's plan to create one big hive mind. You know, Snow Crash came out decades ago, but that central question, man, it's more relevant now than ever. We live in a world where we're just constantly getting bombarded with viral ideas, memes, and information, all designed to change how we think. So it leaves you with this one big, lingering question. If our brains can be programmed and infected, just like a computer, what's the antivirus?